Welcome. I have embarked on a 40-day spiritual journey, vision quest, Jesus walk, whatever you want to call it. For me, it's a 40-day alchemical container where I will use no screens, consume no sugar or no substances. With this detoxing, there's also spiritual practices that come along, one for each of the 40 days. This container to me feels like freedom, pure freedom. How did this first day go for me? Overall, it went well. I didn't experience many cravings, a few small cravings, but I was able to recognize I'm craving weed because I'm bored right now. I'm craving sugar because I'm looking for something to fill this. Recognizing that is allowing me to meet my needs better. Instead of leaning into sugar because I want to fill this void that I'm feeling, I can recognize whatever emotions I'm feeling and move through them. And funny enough, the cravings subside. They really do. I'm recognizing that addictions are just behaviors or emotions that need to be alchemized. There was some triggering. I did get some anger and some frustration come. I did a rewilding embodiment practice with the dark goddesses to move through some of this anger and frustration. And interestingly enough, what came through was depths of rage. Rage of these parts of the feminine being denied. It was like, this is all of me. You don't just get the joy. You don't just get my love. Rage is a part of me. This is all of me, and you accept my full spectrum or none at all. It was like this feeling of being tied at the stake is lighting myself on fire and watching the ropes burn away. This is all of me. The depth of rage that I excavated in my practice was so much larger than the little rage that I thought I was feeling over being triggered. And then as I continued in that practice, that rage turned into this wailing heartbreak of this devastation and just craving, aching to be loved. I experienced those triggers as something that needs to be addressed, as these emotions that I have to manage. And then when I did the practice, I came into contact with the deep undercurrents that were triggering those surface level triggers, right? So day one overall was really good. I'm a little bummed about the triggers and the repercussions of them, and it's just challenging. This is a destined moment in time. There is a huge influx of energy coming in. So while the situations are tumultuous and challenging, and to be honest, I have no fucking clue how to navigate them. But you know what I do have? A whole lot of fucking trust. A massive amount of faith. I am stepping into this alchemical container ready with a full body fuck yes, surrendering and free falling into the void. Today is day 8 of the program, so we are officially in the second week. The first week was rough. I will not lie to you. My body detoxed heavy. Day 2, straight detox. I first came anger. It was a lot of anger and frustration. And again, I'm just really grateful that I'm in a place where I have the practices to work with these anger. I know at this point in my life, I know how to express anger in a healthy way. And what a blessing that is. What a blessing it is to have practices, to be able to create a space for myself to go express this anger so that it doesn't come out in my relationship, in my family, in my workplace.
And I feel like that's what this work is when you are on a spiritual journey, when you're on a know thyself journey, whatever that looks like for you. I'm learning that the triggers come, the emotions come. It's not that these very spiritually attuned people are just free from life's hardships. It's that they create the space to feel that energy, to move through that energy so it doesn't leak out into their everyday life. Because if you pay really close attention to how things happen, you can observe this in your own body. So if this resonates to you, I challenge you to look for this in your life. We have various other bodies other than our physical body. So we have a mental body, we have an emotional body, a spiritual body, all these different bodies. The Indian systems do a really great job of explaining this. What happens is an energy will come to the surface asking to be moved. And I have observed in my body that if I don't move that energy or work with that energy in some way, it then trickles down into the physical. So the way that I first observed this in my body is I went through a phase a couple years ago where I would feel like really intense sensations in my chest. My chest felt really tight and I didn't quite know what it was and I didn't know how to work with it yet. So then a couple days later, I would have something that happened in life that would then spiral me into grief because I didn't move the energy, right? So it was like the energy came in through my emotional body, and because I didn't move it, it then traveled deeper into my physical body. And at that point, life will hand you the situation for you to then move through that energy. When we can create spaces to feel this energy, when we can create spaces for this denser energy to exist, it doesn't leak into our everyday life because we've given it a space, we've given it an opportunity to be felt. This past week brought so many emotions. I was really frustrated because I felt like I spent this whole first week just sorting through these really heavy, really dense emotions. And again, I'm grateful that I have this time and this space to do that. I'm grateful for the practices that I've cultivated and the relationship with myself that I've cultivated, that I'm able to sit this deeply with myself. And I don't want to be fucking transmuting emotions all day, every day. Part of the program is Marisa gives us one practice for each of the 40 days. And she is a spiritual guru all in her own right. So these practices that she gives us are just dripping with nectar and sacredness and juice. The practices this week were very foundational. They were things to incorporate into everyday life. AM practices, PM practices, water blessing rites, like mirror love. Last week I was deeply nourished by Mother Nature. As I was moving through such intensity, Mother Nature was really my backbone to be able to go and scream at God and scream at life and just get it out and voice my opinions and how I'm feeling and all of the stuff that's been holding on inside of me to be able to let it out. I've been learning to find nourishment in the Great Mother and learn how to be held by the spirits, learn how to be held by the land and the elements and the ancestors, and open myself up to receive that love even when I'm in the depths of pain. Something else that came through really loud for me this week was missing the elders. While I was in the depths of my grief this week, I found myself saying, where are the elders? Where are they? The elders are not here to hold me in this pain, and it hurts. I would have visions or memories of a more primordial time when we lived in small communities and elders were really revered in the community, and I saw myself as a maiden experiencing emotions bigger than herself and running to the elders, running to the grandmother to hold me in that pain, to offer me wisdom. And I felt so held and loved and seen and validated in what I was moving through as my experience of a maiden. And it was really painful to to not have that. It was almost as if I was grieving that as well, and it was challenging. I could also recognize that I can seek the elders in other places, and I can seek Grandmother Spider, I can seek Grandmother Willow, I can seek Grandmother Moon and the ocean. And that's what I mean. These spirits, they're here, they surround us all of the time, and we just have to open ourselves up to listen. Last week really threw me off because I set really strong intentions for this 40-day container, and I created a really strong framework. I made it so easy for myself. All I have to do is show up. There's no room to get lost. There's no room for confusion. I just felt so like thrown around by my emotions. And it was just this, okay, I want to feel my emotions fully, and I want to make space for them, and they're throwing me around, and I feel like I'm not gaining the momentum that like is the whole point of this program. That was really my conclusion of the first week. This week I am focusing more on stability and showing up regardless. I really love Layla Hormozi's quote, "Fuck your feelings, follow the plan." All right, my little hippie self takes that with a grain of salt, because there's value and deep lessons in feeling your emotions fully, and there needs to be a balance. There needs to be that masculine energy that provides you that linear focus and drive, so the emotions don't whip you around to all over the place. And with that, I've been exhausted this week. Yes, and I am well into my luteal phase. I'm starting to get into late luteal. So I also want to offer myself the space that my body is asking for, and the space to give my body what it needs. And I guess that's the whole point of life, right? We have these plans, we have these goals, and how do we stay aligned with the linear drive that we are aiming for, and flow with the ebbs and flows of life? And that's the balance of the masculine and feminine. This program is teaching me how to weave sacredness into every moment of my life, to weave intention into every moment of my life, and it is so beautiful. I feel all of this year I've been really deepening into my spiritual practice. This year started with me buying the Sacred Woman book to focus on wound healing and wisdom, and that really planted the seeds for me to turn my life into a sacred life. And as I shared, Marisa is just such a spiritually embodied human, such a beautiful example of what divinity can look like embodied. And to do these practices every day with her, and to see how she weaves sacredness into every moment of life, even the most mundane parts. And then I already witness her as this extremely spiritual, divine individual. And then to see these practices of, oh, that's how she does it. That's what that looks like. And I can do that too. That's how I can embody more of my own divinity and bring more sacredness into my life. I'm so grateful. It is day 16 of my course. We're wrapping up day 16. We're almost halfway through this course. That's crazy to think about. I have already changed so much. The biggest takeaway that I have so far is everything is energy. Everything is energy. Everything is electrical energy. Transmute the charge. Transmute the charge and use it. Transmute the charge and channel it. It is simple, not easy. I have always been someone who's been very caught up in my emotions. My emotions have always been bigger than me. They move me. They are often these huge tidal waves that come through me and alter the course of my day. I have come to love my emotions because it's that much juice. It's that much life force that is being moved through me. And that's beautiful that I have the capacity to feel and hold that much life force. However, as I grow into maturity, I no longer want to let these emotional tides move me as easily as they have been. And one of the themes that's been repeating in this course is I'm wanting to sit down and dive into my creativity, and my emotions keep coming and sweeping me away. And then I'm spending all day tending to my emotions, and there's no room left for creativity, and it's frustrating. This is teaching me that it's all charge. This is where your power lies, and this is where you integrate the shadow. We often want to push away the dense emotions, grief, anger, shame, and the likes, and we want to lean into joy and peace. However, they all make one spectrum. Our mind tells us a story about our emotions, and like everything else, because the mind's job is to translate. The mind, Mercury, Hermes, messenger of the gods. What are gods? Force. Mercury, the mind, is translating all of these different forces, internal and external, that are coming at us. Here's a great example. We know through physics that speed and light travel at different speeds. Light travels faster than sound. So by that law, the light, the image that you are seeing, is traveling to your brain faster than the sound of my voice is reaching you. You view this as one picture because of temporal binding. Your brain takes all these different pieces of information that are coming at you and stitches them together so that you can receive one cohesive image. It does the same thing with your internal as well. Our body is so intelligent. Our body wisdom is much more intelligent than we think it is. It's much more intelligent than the conscious mind. The mind is also translating all of these internal forces that are at play. Emotions are one of those internal forces. We often hate our emotions or try to push these emotions away when it's simply information. Your body is simply trying to tell you something, and it's telling you what force is loud, what force is out of balance. Our external situations are a reflection of our internal nature. The challenges that we experience through any sort of relationship dynamic, whether it's with a partner, with friends, with family, any sort of challenge or tension that you're facing externally is a result of internal tension. You were not able to sort it out inside, so life, being the most beautiful teacher, has presented you this perfect situation that is an external reflection. It's an external mirror of your internal forces so that you can sort it out. Emotions are information, and your mind is telling you a story about these emotions to help you transmute it. The mind is doing its job. For example, I have been moving through a lot of grief over the past week. My brain is telling me this story. I feel grief because of this situation, and this hurts so bad. I can go into that if I must, and there's lessons there. All of our emotions are trying to tell us something. Also, I can let go of the story. I can transmute the grief, and I can move on. Transmute the emotions and move on. Use the charge. Emotions are charge. They are electrical in nature. So when we can take our emotions and we can bring them back to love, we can use that charge, we can harness that charge for a variety of things. We can harness it to ascend vertically. We can harness that charge and pour it into our creative projects, our work, our family, whatever we want to. All it is charge. And negative, dense emotions spin downwards. Grief, anger, shame. If you look at the map of consciousness, everything, I believe it's pride and lower, those have a downward spinning emotion. So the way that you transmute those emotions is going to be much different than how you transmute the upward spiraling emotion. They're different realms. They're different density levels. It's like below the water and air. It's like below the earth and air. And even the emotions themselves, how you transmute anger is going to be different than how you transmute grief. This 40-day program is giving me the practices and the tools to do that. I was cultivating them on my own, but Marisa is just this beautiful divine being who's been on this path for over 20 years, and she's traveled the world gathering all of this knowledge, and she's sharing her 40 favorite practices with us, with me. What? And they are divine. They are divine, and they are tapping me into places that I have not yet been able to get into. They are giving me access to these places within myself and tools to take radical responsibility for myself. This is spiritual sovereignty. Taking radical responsibility. No more, you made me feel this way. You might have triggered it. Maybe what you did wasn't okay. But I am radically responsible for 100% of my emotions. And what that looks like is bringing it back to love and turning my attention back to work. Bringing it back to love, taking that energy and pouring it into work. And this is where spin starts to come in, right? This is when you start to gather spin. And it's two spinning. It's dynamic tension at play. This is the triadic relationship. This is unity consciousness. This is the Holy Trinity embodied in yourself. God is not outside of you. God is inside of you. And then everything that's inside of you is reflected outside of you. Dynamic tension is two opposing forces, two polar opposites. They are the same thing in nature, but they express themselves in extremely opposite ways. They are opposite spins held together by tension, dynamic tension. When you have dynamic tension, it creates a triadic relationship. So you now have these two very separate things, opposing forces, that now come into this triadic relationship. So they are now one. So to use the example of the emotions, right? We have the map of consciousness and we have that middle line between pride and courage. So courage and above, those are your upward spinning emotions. That's from the heart and above. And then from pride down, those are your downward spinning emotions. That's the heart and lower. The heart is your airport. The heart is where everything meets. So you can imagine these in two ways. You can imagine it like a tornado spinning upwards, the eye of the storm in the heart, and then a tornado spinning downwards with the eye of the storm in the heart. You can also imagine it like a pyramid, right? So you've got a pyramid like this above, and then a pyramid like this below. This is where you get your Merkaba. So this pyramid above is spinning in one direction. Clockwise or counterclockwise in this moment, I'm not sure. And then the bottom one is spinning in the opposite direction. So let's say this one is going clockwise and then this one is going counterclockwise. When you get both of those in spin and you have activated your Merkaba, you're now creating one spin. So this is your torus field, that little bubble that goes around you, but it's the tornadoes, right? So you've got one tornado spinning clockwise and that comes up and it creates this little bubble around you. And then you've got one tornado going downwards and that creates another bubble around you. So it's this torus field that's going like this, that's spinning around you. You're creating spin. So now when you have these emotional charges, it's just energy.
bring it back to love. And then you increase your spin. And when you increase your spin, this is when you generate more life force. And then when you have this life force, you can pour it into anything. You can pour it into your creative projects. You can pour it into work. You can pour it into your relationship. You can pour it into your family. You can pour it into money. You can pour it into sex. You can pour it into whatever you want. It is divine energy. So what this is doing for me is, instead of getting so caught up in my emotions where I just I'm so lost in them and I'm spinning out of control in my emotions, I go, okay, I tune into my body. What am I feeling right now? I'm feeling grief. Okay, what are my grief practices? Feeling anger? What are my anger practices? How do I bring this back to love? How do I bring this back to center? And then when you have something like joy, for me, I notice in joy, I get really excited and I tense and I want to get all the joy out. But how can I hold more joy? How can I fill myself up with joy so that I'm overflowing and the joy oozes out of me? So I'm not this electrical joy. I'm joyful. I'm full of joy, and joy is flowing out of me in these smooth currents. I'm still learning, but that's what I have right now. Another big important lesson that I'm being shown, and I was really shown this one today, is the importance of masculine energy and training masculine energy to hold and to match the feminine energy, right? So I've spoken about how this whole course, I've been caught up in my emotions. My emotions have thrown me around. It's because I've got all of this life force that's just spinning out of control. I need the masculine training to be able to hold that. And what that looks like is focusing the conscious attention, is presence. Can I hold this in presence? For me, what that looks like is meditation, practicing more meditation. Part of this course is to sit for a 20-minute silent meditation every day. That's been challenging for me. It's been really challenging, and I'm noticing I need it more, right? And usually that's how it is. The things that are most challenging for us are what we need the most, but I feel motivated now. I can recognize that it's a piece in me that's underdeveloped, and it's only going to help me grow. It's only going to bring me into bigger alignment. It's going to bring me into greater union. It's going to allow me to hold and to channel more life force. And I think that's the name of the game right now, right? We've got all of these crazy astrology transits. We've got all of these big outer planets shifting signs in alignment to each other. There is so much fucking energy up for grabs right now. The old world is crumbling. And when you see a crumbling of all of these structures that have been in place for generations, it creates this massive amount of energy. And I don't know about you guys, but I want to fucking harness it. I want to play with it. I want to channel that energy and bring it into my body and bring it into my life. I don't want to play fucking small anymore. And I'm realizing this is how I do it. Whatever comes into my field, transmute it, get back to love. Channel it into my work. Channel it into my creative projects. Channel it into my family, into my home. What? How cool. I got a little bit off track of my intentions with how much I was being moved around by my emotions. And thank goodness I made this little college curriculum for this 40 days. And I had 8 different classes that I'm taking, and those were my main intentions. And then I broke my main intentions down for each of those classes. But I made visuals, I made it a PowerPoint, I did Pinterest boards for all of them. Let me know if you want to see it, I'll link it below because I'm kind of really proud of it. I'm so glad that I did that, because coming back to this PowerPoint, I was able to feel into my intentions, right? And I was able to recognize where perhaps the way that I was going about my intentions was very rigid, and it's just not serving me in this moment. Before, I had all of these things that I wanted to do in my morning routine. It was like, I'm gonna do this, 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 and this, and it's gonna get me here. And it's like, these are all the things that I need to do so that I'm spiritually aligned and attuned for the day. Okay, the thought was great, but in reality, I don't need that rigidness. And because it was so rigid, I was not following through on it. Now, been waking up and I just tune in. What do I need to feel good? What are my blocks and how do I work with them? And that's the beautiful thing, right? Blocks are not scary anymore. It's not this like intense thing that I gotta like fight. It's just like, oh, well, how do I make a little room? And what really opened me up to this is a practice called Moan and Om. It is the juiciest thing that Marisa has created that I've seen so far, and I am so fortunate to like practice this, and I can't wait to teach this practice. It's basically just yoga, but you are moaning and oming and you are sounding in these poses, and it is, oh, it's so juicy, and it just opens you up, coming from someone who had huge throat blocks, who was scared to make any types of sound. It is delicious. It feels so good. And what it reminded me is that my yoga practice is there to make me feel good. So instead of stepping on the mat and being like, I gotta do 5 sun A and 3 sun B, and I gotta get all my strength poses in, and I gotta make sure I do this, right? Like, instead of I have to, I get to. I get to get on my yoga mat. I get to breathe. I get to tune into my body and listen to what it needs. I get to find what feels good. When I lean into the what would feel good, like what does my body need right now, it's pleasureful. Even if it's a workout, even if it's a intense yoga practice, if that's what my body is asking for, it feels good. And it's just like you have these big revelations and you're like, ah, wonderful. I'm just never gonna be triggered again. I'm just always gonna live in this space and it's beautiful. And it's like, bitch, the more practices I get, the more power that I step into, the bigger the shadow is coming up to be integrated. The biggest thing that I hope you take away from this is emotions are simply charge. Learn how to transmute and alchemize the charge. That is where you find your power. You find your true power by integrating the shadow, because now you have access to your fullness. Now you have access to your wholeness. I can really feel the momentum gathering. I can feel all of my energy pulling in. I'm focusing on minimizing leaks. Oh my gosh, another big thing, I've been really tapping into my dreams lately and I've been fucking loving it. Fucking loving it. Not only am I understanding my dreams more and like what my psyche is processing, I'm getting like precognition dreams. I'm getting warning dreams. I'm getting dreams that I'll like do the analysis and I'll be like, oh, that's really interesting. And then that theme comes up that day. And I'm like, oh, well now I know how to handle this situation because I actually had a fucking dream about it. What? Oh my God, it's so fun. I love it. Can you tell I'm a Pisces moon? Can you tell I'm a Pisces moon at my IC? One of the things that my dreams taught me about is recursion loops. And this is in Codex Principles Mathematica, Codex Mathematica Principles by Sir Robert Edward Grant. Recursion loops are how long you can hold the frequency in a state of being. This is why Shavasana is so important in yoga, right? Because when you're doing yoga,
You are building up all of this energy. You're transmuting the things inside of you. You're changing your state of consciousness than when you walked in the mat. So Shavasana allows you to close that recursion loop. So you've come in, let's say you've come into yoga at this state of being. Let's say you're anxious when you go into yoga, and then you have your yoga practice, you build the energy, and you kind of level off up here. And now you're peaceful when you leave yoga. Shavasana allows you to integrate this frequency here. You're closing the recursion loop. So when you leave the yoga class, you leave peaceful because you've now closed the recursion loop, you've now integrated. If you left early, you did not give yourself a chance to integrate, so you're going to slowly come back down to where you started because that energy is going to leak. This is true for everything, for all of the altered states of consciousness, for embodying different archetypal energies, for like any type of spiritual practice, for dreams. This is another reason why I found that stillness meditation, the 20 minutes, and the masculine practices and training are so important because it's that piece of integration. So I can do all this deep embodiment spiritual practice, but if I don't take the time to integrate and close the recursion loop, then when I go back into daily life, I'm going to leak that energy and go back to whatever starting frequency I was at, or whatever the lowest frequency I hold within my body is. This is how you like really raise your frequency and stabilize it. And I feel like that's where I'm at now, is stabilizing. I am in the last few days of my 40-day practice. The program is laid out really nicely because it gives you this soft introduction. It's a gentle beginning, and then you ramp up the energy. You have these deep, intense shadow work practices. You peak, and then you slide off, and the practices get gentler again, and you shift from shadow work more to self-love. After that deep excavation of the shadow, what are you filling it with? Can we fill it with love? As I approach these last couple of days, I almost feel the same. Like, I really almost feel the same. But when I stop and think about it, so much has changed. So much. And I'm questioning, is this what integration is? Is integration when you take all of that change and then on the other side, you kind of feel the same? I think that I thought that I would feel like this whole new, different person. And I almost feel like more of myself. More of myself without the illusions, more of myself without the tenseness of my body, more of myself without annoyance and anger and sadness. One of my deepest shadows is a self-worth wound. I've known that. I've sat with this over the years. So one, I don't know why I was so shocked when this came up again, because like I knew this. When this self-worth stuff came out, I brought out the big guns of avoidance, sugar, wine, weed, even using books as a distraction. I did it all. And that was a little bit shocking because I thought I was going to go the 40 days without any of it. It showed me that when I'm seeking sugar, when I am seeking substances or reading as an avoidance, there's something that is bubbling up. There's something that's stirring around me. And how can I be gentle with myself? How can I recognize that? And how can I soften into that? Instead of being disappointed and being angry with myself that I, used those things and I broke the guidelines, I recognized it as an opportunity to learn. I didn't fail. I'm failing forward. I'm learning. It's unconscious for a reason. The mind doesn't want to know about this for a reason. We have avoidant tendencies for a reason because we don't want to face it. because it's too painful or it's too challenging. So we would rather turn our heads and be avoidant than look at it face on. My point being here is when I'm feeling a little off and I watch myself do these avoidant tendencies, can I recognize that I'm hiding something from myself? And can I be brave enough to ask my body to show it to me? And then listen. I've been really sitting with, instead of forcing into letting go, if you will, it's a softening your edges. It's reaching the edge and softening into it. And that is the essence of pleasure. Opening up to pleasure changes the game. Not only does it drop me deeper and deeper into feminine radiance and feminine magnetism, but it drops me into the softness of self. I'm no longer forcing and pushing to go somewhere, but I'm relaxing into what's here. It's a removing of the illusions in a pleasureful way. I will say, in my experience, pleasure comes through the shadow. Pleasure comes through the weirdness. You have to be willing to sit with your shadow. You have to be willing to love your thorns. You have to be willing to be expressive in all of the ways that your body wants to be, and some of them are fucking weird. They are, and that's okay, because you can do it in the privacy of your own room. And this brings me to the point of self-intimacy. I spent so fucking long desperate for love, wanting anyone to show me a drop of love and attention and affection, and that's just the wounded feminine. One, realizing that I am love is a key to navigating that, right? But two, self-intimacy. Can I just be so true with myself? Can I be so honest with myself? Can I sit with the things that hurt me, the things that challenge me, the things that are weird about me, the things that I love about me, the things that are beautiful about me? Can I be with myself? Can I have a relationship with myself? And self-intimacy is the juiciest intimacy at all, because you can only give to another what you have recognized within the self. Self-intimacy is going to create that depth of intimacy for relationships of all kinds. We are 2 weeks post the 40 days now. I feel like the lighting is a little off with my camera. I'm just rolling with it. I want to be so raw and authentic right now. It's also a Taurus new moon, and this is my confession tapes. Raw, brutal honesty with you, baby girl. I have been feeling such dissonance in my body. I slipped up in the 40 days, and I'm watching where my time outside of the 40 days, this next 6 months until the next eclipse season, is a larger echo of the energy that happened in my 40 days. So I slipped up. I brought that energy into the container. Now I have to work it out in this next 6 months. And I'm watching it right now. And it's so frustrating because I'm watching it and I'm still choosing it. I can see where smoking is interfering, and I am clinging. I am clinging so hard, and I know it's time to give it up, and I just really don't want to. And I've been trying to approach this from a place of exerting willpower, and that just doesn't work for me. And I'm like, okay, Kaylin, but just be a little bit more disciplined. Learn how to tell yourself no. Is this Jupiter in Cancer? There's a part of me that's like, learn how to tell yourself no, be more disciplined. And then there's another part of me that's like, I'm clearly trying to force something that's not working. Let's address this instead of just trying to forge forward. And I'm also trying to reconcile that it is retrograde season, and this week Mercury and Jupiter go retrograde. So now everyone will be retrograde except for Mars and Venus. That's a lot of retrograde energy. And I am feeling it. I'm just feeling this total pause. It almost feels like this total stillness. But while we're going still, it's like an excavation of the shadow. And boy, have I been avoiding. I am having some challenging things coming up. A lot of poor thoughts about self, undeserving of love thoughts, having a really hard time reconciling or understanding why my loved ones love me. I have been eating so much more sugar, like shit that I don't even eat. I'm eating shit that I don't even eat. But I'm still doing it. Why? Because that hit of sugar is good. The dissonance, the internal dissonance. What do I do? What do I do? Make it easy for yourself to make good decisions. Okay, I'm trying to do that. And it's like the things that I need, I'm just not ready to give myself yet, to be totally honest. I need womb detoxing. I have a feeling that if that's going to require going vegetarian, then I just started enjoying meat again. I'll do it. But I don't feel that starting now would be setting myself up for success, right? Says everyone who makes an excuse ever. I hear you. I just feel like if I tried to get really strict now, and then Thanksgiving and Christmas, those are just like hard times to be strict, and I'm already not doing it for myself. So let me give myself a breather. Let me show myself compassion. I already planned to be sober for the first 3 months of the year, so let me just relax. And then jump into it January. And that doesn't mean just waste these 2 months. I still have goals. They're gentle. They're nourishing. The goals are to set my new baseline. So there are things that can easily be achieved. Let me give myself this sense of a win. Let me accomplish something that still needs to get done, but that's just a little bit easier to handle right now. But damn, these bitches are loud. Just speaking it has me feel so much better because it has been this heavy internal battle. And I'm finding that just forging ahead doesn't work for me. Now, with that being said, there is this piece of the masculine energy that needs to be addressed, because that was something that I also noticed in the course, where my masculine energy can be strengthened to fully contain and direct the fullness of my life force. That way I'm not being moved around by my emotions, being moved around by life's forces. I can remain rooted and stable and direct the fullness of my life force. I have just been totally lost and in the fog these past couple of weeks, and it's probably Neptune moving back into Pisces. And you know, I never did good with that one, okay? It's been a lot of internal dissonance, and I'm walking through a fog, and I've just had a challenging time navigating that. To me, the fog feels like self-doubt, lack of direction, no linear direction. Shadow territory, definitely. Like negative self-thoughts, just negative talk in general. Old wounds around wanting to be loved, wanting to belong. Sometimes safety, but not so much this time. More so like love and belonging. Deservingness of love, worthy of love, valued. So really those deeply ingrained negative core beliefs. I'm just going to invite Neptune in to dissolve them. And let me replace them with the truth of I am love. Wow, I feel so much better. And this is what has been driving me crazy, because I have been living so mundane, I've been living so drab, I've been living so caught in the illusion, and it is dull. That was 2 minutes that I spent in meditation, but with my pure, full conscious awareness, I was able to locate where that negative belief was in my body, call in Neptune to dissolve it, which he did, and then replaced it with a new belief. And I feel the difference in my body. I feel the difference in my body right now with 2 minutes of pure conscious awareness. So when I'm doing anything that's not that, it feels wasteful. It feels lackluster. And then I get really down on myself because I feel like I'm not living up to my fullest potential because of my own actions. While my life is so perfect and so beautiful, I feel like my day-to-days are a little bit dull. I do not feel like I'm living fully. I do not feel like I'm living up to my highest potential. And I've been deeply sitting with that. I'm like, okay, well, what would make me feel fulfilled? Okay, now what kind of structure can I implement to get that ball rolling? That's kind of what I've been working on all year, honestly. And I've definitely taken leaps and strides, and there's still part of me that just feels in the same place. And it's like, am I always gonna be here? Are we ever gonna move forward? Like, I know these things to be true. I know that I will get there. I know that I will be that person. And like right here, right now, I'm watching myself make decisions that are holding me back from that. And I have not yet successfully been able to implement the willpower to change them. So then it makes me feel like I'm just never gonna get there because of me. And like this is the whole video, right? I am holding myself back. These two things that I could implement that would be above average steps that would give me big gain. One of them is masculine consciousness training. And then the other key piece is creative expression. I require more and deeper expression. And again, it's twofold. One, just expression of myself, expression of my voice, expression of my emotions, just expression of all that is Kaylin, of this psyche, of this soul in whatever that looks like. And then also creative expression. Am I creating? I need to be creating every single day. Think about how much we consume every day, what we're consuming online, what we're reading, what we're eating, like all of this consuming that we're doing. Are we expressing as much as we're consuming? And my personal opinion, this is the biggest source of anxiety, is consuming, taking in more that you're expressing. You've heard me talk about dynamic tension a lot. You probably will hear me talk about it a lot more. But these are two sides of dynamic tension. Taking in, expressing. Consuming, expressing. With all things, they need to be in balance. And creative expression is our natural state of being. Energy is meant to flow. Part of that flow of energy is us creating, expressing, moving the energy, letting it move through us. And I just have not been engaging in that enough. My whole life, honestly, again, it's something that I've been working on and it slowly comes up, but I am ready to dive into my full creativity. I think that's all I have for today. Thank you for engaging in my world in this video, and I plan to share the journey more, the insights, the challenges, the struggles, just to be super real and authentic with what is alive for me right now, what is coming through for me right now, and may it serve you on your journey. Thank you so much for watching this video, for engaging in my little corner of the world. Let me know what resonated with you down below.